have our little drink done, we're gonna go for the typical feijoada, which is our Brazilian stew that we do in Brazil. It is so common out there that every Wednesday in Brazil is feijoada day. All restaurants have feijoada, meaning it is a national treasure, and it is just a black bean stew made with pork, meats, and bacon. I'm gonna do a very light version. The one that you guys are gonna have online has everything the way they do in Brazil. They have the pork ears and the tail and everything else. I do a more lighter version for healthy, and I think it's delicious and works for me, but you do whatever you want. Actually, mine is a vegetarian version, but this one, I think my friends here and my husband would love that for sure. Meaning we're gonna go for that. Pork loin, make sure you remove really well the silver skin from it, because you don't want that stuff to be holding your meat together. Silver skin does not dissolve when you cook, meaning you make sure you remove all. Bacon, and we have linguiça, which, funny enough, we are lucky to have linguiça here in that part of California. It's not a everyday item that you find everywhere. We have the factory here, and they are producing great linguiça, which is the same linguiça we use in Brazil, pretty much the same spices, and it's pretty delicious. Soak the black beans overnight and discard the water. Make sure you discard the water, because that's a little trick that you do for to get, people are uncomfortable with beans because they have a tendency to be a little gassy. I know I hate to say that, but that happens. Meaning, if you want to soak the beans and throw away the water, you remove that thing from your beans, and they're easy to digest and everything. If you want to learn more about it, just Google and find out yourself. But make sure you drain, and you guys can see the water gets really dark, almost like dark blue. Beans. Okay, ready. Today we're gonna be cooking on pressure cookers, and I want to talk to you guys about pressure cookers. Pressure cookers today, they are not your grandma's best, pressure cookers. They are made to last. They have a lot of safety features. My grandma had the first, I would say, pressure cookers, and they had one way to release pressure, and if that get with any piece of something stuck there, you would have an explosion. And it happened a lot, and people get traumatized about pressure cookers. They keep carrying that stories around. But today the pressure cookers have a lot of features, meaning they release the pressure faster and efficiently before the explosion happens. Meaning, if the 7 ones fail, you're probably the unluckiest person on the planet Earth, meaning you have 7 ways to do that, 7 ways to the pressure to escape before it goes boom. There's a lot of prices out there. There's pressure cookers, they go from $20 to $100. It's really up to your budget, how much you want to spend. There is Fagor, which is Spanish, from Spain. They're really good. This one is from Switzerland, and it's also amazing. It's a good pressure cooker, works really well. When you soak overnight the beans, they're gonna cook really fast. Just keep that in mind. It's less time cooking. Pressure cookers are better and healthier for you, because you preserve more of the vitamins without losing too much time cooking. If you do that with black beans, normally it would take like 3 or 4 hours to cook beans and water, in a pot with water. You need to make sure there's enough water there, it's not gonna burn. And a pressure cooker is 20 minutes, half an hour, and the beans are ready and ready to serve. Okay, now we're gonna go to the stove, and we're gonna start browning the meats. And we add the beans and the spices. We're gonna close the pressure, and from there we are gonna cook the other ingredients that goes together with feijoada. Okay, we're gonna heat up the oil. This olive oil. Make sure it is hot. I have already the onions and garlic chopped here. I'm gonna add some onions. That's the noise we're looking for, the sizzling. Saute the onions for a few minutes. I am a big garlic lover, meaning go for garlic is always good. And you give them a little color before you add the other ingredients. Getting there. And you can keep your fire high because you want to give some color to the meats and make sure they're ready and done before you add the beans. And we close the pan. Okay. We can add the pork. I'm using pork loin. I like to add the pork here in this stage of the dish because it's going to cook and it's going to kind of disintegrate it in the beans, meaning when you guys eat the beans, you're going to have pieces of that meat just coming apart in your dish. Just let it cook for a few minutes. Because everything is going to cook together under pressure, the bacon pretty much melts away in the pressure cooker, which is good. And we're going to add the linguiça. I think I'm going to move to the higher, more stronger source of heat here because I need the color that's not showing yet. Smells great. I wish you guys were here. Maybe we would have some guests in the future. You can be the lucky one. Brazilian history. We were colonized by Portuguese and Spanish, mostly by Portuguese. When they discovered South America, they divided South America in two places. One is would be the Spanish-speaker countries, and Brazil was pretty much Portuguese. Sadly, and we have that in our history to carry around, we had slaves. And the history behind the feijoada is the slaves didn't have too much to eat. They would have to mix whatever pieces of meat they get with beans, and they would cook. And later on, the smell of that was so amazing that the Europeans were trying to figure out a way to make them prepare the same dish at home because it was really delicious. And that's why in Brazil they have so many different kinds of meats. They use everything from the pig because since you kill the animal, you better use everything. And I know the story is a little sad, but amazing at the same time, you know, carries a lot of tradition and history. We add the bacon. You see that now we are getting some color in the side of the pan, and that's just fine. The bacon is going to really disappear. We add linguiças. And I'm going to get bay leaves, which is really part of European cooking. We add bay leaves to pretty much to everything. We add the beans, and you guys can see the pan gets really like tainted by the color of the beans. They really have amazing color. And now we're gonna add some water. Linguiça, in case you guys don't know, is a sausage. You guys can use any kind of sausage. I like linguiça because it is Brazilian and that's a Brazilian dish, but you guys can use any kind of sausage you guys like. That's it. And we have everything here. I'm When we open that pan, that color is going to be completely different because the beans would release and do their magic. I'm going to add some salt. In Brazil, if you're using salt meats, which normally sometimes they are, they don't add any salt. You guys can add some salt now and fix later and see if you guys need more. I really hate to over salt food, meaning if you guys can adjust that later, for sure you can do it. Now, pressure cooker. What I need to do is just line up those two triangles here to close the pan, and that's it. Now we let that start, you're gonna hear a little noise, a little pressure noise, and you can slow the fire down and let it simmer for 20 minutes, and we will have feijoada.